Well people, new toys, which is nice. Well, for starters, bought myself a new pair of trainers. Aren't they nice? Grey. Must be turning old buying grey things. More importantly, more interestingly, to most of the people that watch my channel, we have, some of you may instantly recognise, an Esee6. I actually ordered a rat cutlery RC6, but got one of these instead, which is nice. I haven't done any research, but I think this is the newer company, and rat cutlery is the old company, and this is Esee is the new company. It's not cut anything, actually, that's a lie. It cut open a packet of bacon a little while ago. So now I've got to modify my knife carry system, because this is a bit bigger than my original knife. So we'll go through this a step at a time. My original setup is well used Fallkniven F1 in a modified Fallkniven leather sheath. Now I also attach to this, or these two are attached together via one of these clip strip things through the back there, and then hook the knife onto my belt, or carry it with I have a carry string, and I basically carry it over my shoulder like a handbag. So what I've got to do is get this bag attached to this side, cunningly marked, of the Esee6 sheath. I've also got to attach this, which is basically the sheath holder, which I believe is supposed to go there, but for me it seems the knife hangs a bit low. I don't know whether you're going to be able to see this when I hang it up to my side, because this camera doesn't have a flip around screen. But if I stand far enough back, you should be able to see me. What you can see is when this is going to attach onto my belt, which is there, the knife is going to sit really quite high up. Now I wear, as you can see, I wear long clothes, which is not really any good. I don't want my clothes tucked down this side of the knife. So what I was going to do is modify it such that it attaches to these two top holes there, like that. So when it's on my belt, it should sit just that little bit lower. Sorry, this camera's got such a narrow field of view. Let's move it back a bit so we can get the whole desk in there, and you can see what I'm doing. So what we've got to do is, the bag is going to be attached on there somehow, the right way up, like that. And this is going to be attached on there. And what you can see is it doesn't fit, because obviously it's designed to go down there. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is heat this and see if I can straighten it out, and then maybe I can add this bending down here so that we'll get there. I mean, alternatively I could just potentially cut a hole in this with a Dremel, which probably isn't too difficult. I don't think it'd affect the strength of this too much. This bag weighs 500 grams maybe. But that's the project, which is basically getting the bag attached to the front and getting the belt loop attached on there in such a way that it's a bit higher up than, it's about an inch, judging by that. I guess they're probably an inch apart, and get that attached a bit higher up so that the knife sits a bit lower. The old system with the F1, I have a standard Kydex sheath, which is just absolutely shit. It doesn't hold the knife in any way, shape or form. I tried stuffing things down in there, gluing things down in there, but eventually they just come off. So I really don't like snap locks like that. Plus this one is terribly difficult to get on there. So I ended up up with my own thing, whereby this hooks onto one of these. Now obviously something else I've got to get onto the Esee sheath is my fire steel. And whenever I carry this around, this is part of the reason for swapping over to an Esee or a flat grind, whatever you want to call it. Whenever I carry this around, I also have to carry one of these around, which is a piece of leather, 2-pack glued to a lump of wood, which then has 800, 600 and 400 sandpaper in it, and some elastic bands. This is obviously, this leather's green because I've put rubbing compound on it, and that's the only way to sharpen this because it's got a convex edge and it's a bit of a pain in the arse to sharpen. That's all history now. In this bag, this is basically a portable fire bag. We've got some birch bark in there. There's a couple of some of them really long burning matches in the bottom. Oh no, there's a Pathfinder school, can't remember what they're called, basically paraffin pads. We also have in here 2 hexi blocks, absolutely excellent for lighting fire in all weather conditions. Cannot big them up enough, carrying a couple of them around. We've got some waxed card, which again, you can drop that shit in a puddle and it still lights. What else have we got in here? Piece of leather. Leather's quite useful. Broken pencil. Broken obviously because it doesn't fit in the bag in one piece. So I'll snap it in half and I've got 2 pencils. Got a couple of little bits of fat wood. This one's really nice. It's got a varnished finish on it. And a DC3, which I will probably change to a DC4 because as you can imagine, sharpening a big old blade like that, even tweaking it up with a little tiny stone like that, it's going to be difficult. So, first step, attach this or flatten this out. You're going to have to bear with me. My house really isn't set up with what I would call a proper workshop anywhere. The only heat source I've got is the cooker. That dirty cooker that I've just used to make some more bacon sandwiches and haven't cleaned yet. So what I'm going to try and do is, with the aid of a couple of clamps, I shall warm this up over the fire, over the gas cooker, and bring it over here, and with the aid of 2 clamps, hopefully pull that down flat with the aid of 2 clamps and a piece of 4x2. I'm just going to go and get the tools and I'll be back. Right then, piece of 4x2, 2 clamps. I'll try and get this so you can see the whole thing. Yeah, I think you can see the whole thing from there, can't you? So we'll add one in straight away. These clamps are wicked. That should give me enough room just about to squeeze that in there, and what I'll do is I'll use a lever action on it and push it down here. So get some fire on the go. Shut the window as well. You see what it's like outside today? Quite a nice sunny day. It's definitely windy out there. And we'll try and heat this up. I've never done anything like this before. And the trick with this is you have to be very careful when you overheat to make sure you only heat it up as much as you need. I have got, ooh, that's warm. I have got somewhere in the house, you know, a wallpaper paint stripper heat gun thing. Right, that's starting to go. It's going really floppy. You can see I've already burnt it a bit, but we won't worry about that for the time being. Right, let's give this test number 1. And I should put that under there like that and just press down on it. Hold it there. See how it goes. I'm going to need a better piece of 4x2. Put my edge back in. And that's flattened it out a bit. I'm not liking the fact that it's cooking these corners. Maybe I should just get the heat gun out. I'll give it one more go. Tell you what else we'll do. We'll be back again in a second. I'll get a pair of pliers. I got my cheap 50p pliers from a local hardware store. We'll give this a go. We'll just let it sit there until we see it move. Like I say, I've never done anything like this before. I've done a lot of hot forming of different items. Perspex and stuff like that. But never with Kydex, if in fact this is Kydex. Sorry, having to hold the camera at the same time as holding this is a bit awkward. So, round 2. Probably making a mistake of trying to squeeze out both curves at the same time. Probably make more sense to just squeeze out the bottom one and then out the top one. But, ow, that's hot. It's not going too well, is it? I'll give it one more bash. Try and get more heat in the back end. Just point the camera. So I've got to keep my eye on 2 things at once while I'm doing this. First one is the camera. The second one is this, making sure this is staying over the heat. I'm trying to get as much heat in there as I can without it catching fire. The sink's only over there if it does catch fire, so I can put it out pretty quick. I'm not melting my hand. Might look like it, but I'm not. So there's smoke coming off of there now, so that's definitely hot. I'm going to try squishing it down one more time. Also, I got a funky little, I don't know whether the camera's going to focus and I can't really go around the back and look, but I got a funky little card with my Esee. It's got all sorts of groovy, useless information on it. There's actually a whole section about this survival anagram, not anagram, acronym. Is that what it is, an acronym? On my website. Oh, bugger me, that's hot. Right, that's actually getting there now. It's still not great, but you're much better off doing this, anything like this, a little bit at a time. Because if you go too far, it's very difficult to go back. Again, like you've probably seen in other videos, measure twice, cut once. That is the way to do it. And it doesn't just apply to craft or fabrication, it applies to everything. You know, it's more of a metaphor than an actual functional statement. Look at me. It actually seems to be springing back the way it came from. I'm not really worried about this looking a bit ugly when I've finished doing this, because no one's going to see it. It's going to be on my belt the whole time. It's getting warm in here. Having that heating on. The missus was out here last night. The missus was out here, let's turn you the right way around, so you can see what I'm doing. Missus was out here last night cooking dinner, and it's bloody 32 degrees in here because she had the window closed. Right, this is what we're looking like now. It's not actually going flat. So, we'll give it a cool off under the tap. That was in fact so hot that it hissed at me. Turn that gas off before I cook alive. There we go, tell you how hot it is, isn't it? 28.2. It was a 22 when I started. And then let's have a little look here. That is going to go on me this way. So what I've got to do now is get a better piece of 4x2 that's got a better edge on it, and basically repeat this curve down here. So we need to come this way first and then back the other way. So let me find a better straight edge. I'll be back with you in a minute. Right then, so the only piece of wood I could find was this horrible little piece. And we're going to have to tuck that under there just a tiny bit and pull it up this way. Now again, measure once, cut twice. Measure twice, cut once. The bag is going to go on here. So this needs to go on here with the belt hook facing towards me. So this needs to be applied to the side that doesn't have this little black mark on it. So let's get to it. This should be a bit easier because obviously the first bend's going to go across here somewhere, which should make it easier to bend. So let's have some more heat. Take you over here. So we only need to heat this end up first. We'll just do this carefully. I could do this a lot more carefully, but I'm just going to get it done. Like I say, this is strong plastic. It's not going to cause any major issues. I know it looks like I'm twisting myself all out of shape, but there's a reason I'm doing this, because I picked this up that way, the way it needs to go, and I don't want to change hands in case by the time I go over there I forget where I'm going with it. So I'll put this under here like that. And I'll just bend it up a little bit. We'll push the pliers in the back. I'm pretty certain you can cold form this stuff. It's going to have to be a much steeper bend than that. You can see we've already got a little bit of a bend on there. But I'm not doing this in ideal conditions. Like I say, in my house, I don't have a workshop in my house of any kind. I have a vice. And that's it. I appreciate bending something like this. I really should be making a jig and God knows what else. But if this one turns out right and it works, I'll buy another one of these. You can actually smell plastic cooking. So, we'll give this one more try. See if we can get this first bend in there nicely. Damn, that's hot. Getting there. A bit steeper. I could definitely do with something to push in behind it. Obviously something that's not going to slice my hands open. But it is curving the right way. And as you can see, we're not really far off done. Matter of fact, I think we are done with that particular curve. Now we'll put another one. I can't do a curve like this using this system of pieces of wood. I'm going to need another piece of this wood so that the bottom bend can actually pass right the way through, and I can put the top bend in the other way. And the top bend needs to go just below here and take this back to there. So I'll go and get another piece of wood and set this jig up, so it's set this clamp system up so that I can get the piece of plastic right the way through and put a bend on the other side. Right, we're going to put one piece, we're going to set this wood up in a T shape so that we've got a thin edge. I don't know how well this is going to take to being clamped like this, and it'll probably just go ping and fall over straight away, but I should be able to pry that apart. Remember, this has got to go in upside down. We've been slotting it into the clamp. We've been slotting it into the clamp this way and bending up. So now we've got to slot it into the clamp that way and bend up to make it bend the other way. Let's just try this. Maybe if I loosen that clamp off a little bit, just to have it loose for the time being until I get my. Because remember, I've got to do this when this is baking hot. And then I've got to twist that up from there. So, in that way, and up to the heat. I need to get the heat up a bit higher this time. This is very difficult to do with such a generalised heat source. I mean, clearly this is being melted left, right and centre. Energizer batteries. This camera's got a rechargeable Energizer battery and it was brand new. In the packet, fully sealed. Had to cut the packet open with a knife to get into it, so I know it was brand new. It's useless. Absolutely useless. I've always tried to avoid the bloody Hong Kong batteries because they're generally crap, or I bought 3 for a camera a long time ago. 2 of them are crap and 1 of them worked. So, this is the fun part. I'll get this in here. Clamp down on it. And then bend it up. Right, now, not being a perfectionist, that is plenty good enough for me. So we'll turn the gas off, move all these clamps out of the way, and we'll put the bolts in. Just make sure you can see the working area all right. No, not really. So many cameras these days have such a narrow field of view. Now, I'm not entirely sure where these little black washers are supposed to go. Yes, where they normally go, which would be on the screw side. I would cheat a little bit here, just to get that in a couple of turns. And do the same on the other side. That horrible whining noise you can hear in the background is actually my kettle boiling, or coming to the boil. It's not my children, or my missus. I have got screwdrivers, I'm just being a bit lazy at the minute. Right, it's a bit wobbly, and the screws are only in a couple of turns just to test. But this should now sit up a bit higher, which is great. I mean, you can see the issue straight away there because I wear long clothes. Well, at least I hope you can see the issue, because I wear long clothes, my clothes get tangled up in there. And personally, I normally wear a knife, like I say, with a piece of string hooked through it there, like that. So this is going to be all new for me. So that's on there in a relatively decent way. I don't think it's going to snap off in a hurry. So we'll tighten those screws up. The Vauxhall screwdriver of doom. And we'll just screw these in a bit. I'll probably see if I can find some metal washers, because I really don't like plastic washers at all. I mean, look at that, what's the fucking point? So we'll just screw these straight down. Right. There we go. That's dropped it down about an inch or thereabouts. I mean, I can go and get a measure and measure that, but that looks like about an inch, maybe a bit over an inch and a half. So that should have this hanging in a nice place. And I've just realised, no, I haven't put it on the wrong way around. So now we want to add the Maxpedition barnacle pouch on there. This isn't going to be quite so simple. I will take the knife out. So there's many ways I can do this. I can attach this on by cutting some holes through these molly straps, using nuts and bolts through there, or something through there. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to need nuts and bolts. I don't think I've got any nuts and bolts that will fit through there that are a decent length. Ooh, kettle. Be with you in a second, guys. I don't think I've got any nuts and bolts that will actually fit. Or if I have, they'll be so long that they're going to basically stick right out. I suppose I can have a look and see what I've got laying around. I do tend to collect a load of what most people would say old crap. Most of the old crap becomes useful at some point. The other way, so number one is, like I say, to bolt this onto the mole straps. Number two is to put some paracord through here, join it together by melting, and then I'll stitch it through at each end so it stays in there. And then what I can basically do is use the two loops, one here and one here, to use paracord to wrap all the way through the two loops around the blade of the knife at the same time, all the way through. I prefer that method because it's not making holes in it anywhere, but I don't really have any decent strong thread left, or at least I don't think I do. I'll have to go and check in a bit, but I need to tidy some of these tools up. So I don't really want to be carving holes in this, which is what I'm going to have to do if I put bolts through it. I've used this pouch for quite a long time, and it is, you know, it has got a couple of holes that I've cut in it. I've made a hole in it there so that I can hang it up, but that was in netting anyway, so it doesn't really count, does it? I think this is long enough. This is the piece of paracord that came on the bottom of the knife, bottom of the sheath. I think if I make two loops out of this, obviously this is paracord so you can melt the ends together, but pull them through relatively tight. I think that's the best way to go, but it's difficult to know without trying it, and I do so hate doing things and then having to undo them because they didn't work very well. But I think that's the way to go. So I'll make two loops, I'll melt them together, and then we'll stitch them on close to the edge so that we get as much width. It should help to stabilise that a bit this way. As I'm threading my paracord around, I can put it through these holes, which will also help stabilise it that way. And I'll warn you now, knots are not my strong point. So, for this part of the operation, we need some scissors. I'm going to put you on pause while I tidy up, because clean as you go. So, join these together by melting with a good old-fashioned clipper. And we need a pair of scissors to cut, a clipper to melt, and needle and thread. I have this stuff, which unfortunately is getting to be really rather, I say I have, this is my wife's little sewing kit. She's got a sewing machine, does all sorts of bizarre stuff with her sewing machine sometimes, and she puts her mind to it. But we've got some strong thread, and yes, it is as old as it looks. How much stuff do you see with "Made in England" written on it these days? This has come down from my wife's nan when she died, and this is strong thread. It's called strong thread for a very good reason, and that's because it is very strong. Right, I want to get these pretty tight. Now there's generally a knack to getting something like this to work. If you pull it through, hold it there, so this is the tag end, this is the rest of the string. Now I will cut both at the same time. Yes, I get a little bit of waste, but they're both cut in almost exactly the same place. So once I've taken my little bit of waste away, I end up with a piece of string that's exactly the length I want. I don't know, I'm probably teaching most of you to suck eggs doing stuff like this, but this is going to be a trick. I actually want this for them to catch fire, so that they'll stay melted. I will burn myself doing this, because I always do. Right, there's one. That's how you join a piece of paracord together. It's nice and easy. As long as you get it hot enough and melt it enough, it's pretty strong. Should we test how strong it is? We'll wait until it's cool. We'll do the other one. Then we'll test how strong it is once it's cooled. It should only take a few minutes. So once again, I'm kind of hoping you can see this. Bloody narrow angle cameras. Pull this around. You hold the two pieces of string together, and so you're holding the two pieces of string together like that, and you cut the two pieces of string in exactly the same place without slicing your finger open. And then you have to work out which one, which part of the two pieces of string actually fits through here. Not that one, that's the short one. This is the right one. And then again, with the heat from the trusty clipper, is that like a zipper and a clipper all at the same time? And like I say, you want it to catch fire, because once it's caught fire, you're actually in control of when it goes out and when it stops melting. That should be enough, and then we take them and we push them together, and you'll see both the inside and the outside melt together. If you want to go one step further, you can remelt it afterwards, but I don't really think that's a good idea. And it only takes them a couple of seconds. That one's a bit short. That'll do. So what we'll do is, with our strong thread, we'll put a few stitches through this end, a few stitches through this end, a few stitches through there, and a few stitches through there. That should give us enough room to quite happily add this in. round and round and round and round and round and round and round. If I start there, I can use these holes for something or another. There's probably loads of you out of there screaming to yourself, no, don't do that, do this, do that, do this. I only wish I could have 20 people sitting around while I'm doing something like this, because life has taught me generally, if there's a lot more people, someone can generally come up with a better way of doing something. You young guys out there need to start trying to understand that. Everything in life is a learning experience. Oh, we were going to strength test this, wasn't we? I'll move my tea out of the way so I don't knock that fly in. And I'm going to get hold of it and I'm going to pull it. I can hear it crackling. I'm pulling it pretty hard. I'm not pulling it as hard as I can. Now I'm pulling it as hard as I can. You can see my fingers are turning funny colour, and that ain't going to break. The other one should be just as strong, and it is. So, we'll put a few stitches in, which are basically just to hold it in position. This is going to hurt too. I'm not going to go mad. I am quite literally going to poke the needle through. Oh, somebody's left a knot in the thread. I'll poke the needle through. Pull this right the way through. There's a knot in the end there. Now, I really don't claim to be a seamstress of any kind whatsoever. As a matter of fact, I am quite capable of sewing buttons on, but it doesn't mean to say I'm any good at it. So, like I say, I'll go backwards and forwards 2 or 3 times, maybe 4. I'll try and go right the way through here this time. This is tough. I should probably be using a thimble. And then on this last one, I'll go straight back through. This is tough. I'll just push it through with a thimble. Something else you guys might find useful, something I buy every time I see one, because they are really, well, they seem to be quite rare these days. Well, there's actually a couple of things in this little sewing box. First, it's one of these, which is basically a needle threader. Focus, damn you. There you go, a needle threader. And the other is one of these. My missus, her family call it a quick unpick. My family used to call them seam rippers, and you can see what it is. It's like a little, basically you tuck that underneath a seam and you just go all the way along. And that is so handy. You use that for so much stuff. Probably something you could have add into your gear. Right, so we've got our first one done. We'll snip that off there. Then we'll tie another neat little knot in here. And battery's going flat in the camera, so I can almost guarantee you it ain't going to last. Like I say, this is a brand new battery, and I've done probably about 15 minutes worth of video so far. So there's another knot. We'll do the opposing one this time, and we'll go up through one layer of cord, pull it off tight, then go down through both layers of cord, or through the top layer of cord, sorry, and ouch, and out underneath the mole strap. Now, of course, when you're stitching like this, there is another thing you can do that might actually help your strength, and that's pass the needle back through the loop as you pull down tight. But this thread is strong. It can hold like nearly 500-600 grams or something before it breaks. So we're back out at the top, and then I'll just go through there like that, just once, so that we're out at the bottom, and then snip it off nice and close, tie another knot, up, mate. I hate doing this. I normally get the missus or one of the kids to do it, because I've got these great big sausage fingers. So we'll pull that through there, and then we'll cut those little ends off. Yes, I know it's a big pair of scissors to do this kind of work with, but hey. So we've got 1, 2 stitched in. Again, up to the bottom. This doesn't matter which way you do it, to be honest with you, it really doesn't make any difference. You know, I can just go around there 2 or 3 times. All it's for is just literally to hold it in place. There's a pair of pliers on there as well. So like I say, you've got your loop, pull your needle through the first bit, poke it back through your loop, and you end up with basically a half hitch. And I always do my last, whenever I'm sewing anything, especially buttons, I do my last run through so that the end of the thread, need my thimble again, so that the end of the thread goes downwards. That way it won't get caught on anything. Oh dear. Won't get caught or tangled up on anything when you're walking around. And it will be stronger and it will last longer. So we've got 1 more to do. And I think I'm going to be lucky if the battery lasts that long. Tying these knots is an absolute nightmare with fingers the size of mine. Right, there we go. That's the knot tied. We'll have the ends off. And which one haven't we done? This one here is the only one we haven't done. So start with the up. And go up through the cord, through the strap, and go down through the cord, through the strap, through the cord. Like I said again, it doesn't matter really. This isn't structural. This isn't holding anything. All it's got to do is hold these things in place. And we'll see if we can get this back through there. And then do, like I say, last one always. I don't know whether we're supposed to do this or whether it's what they would teach you. Most of what I know about sewing and stitching I taught myself and come from experience. I was a Boy Scout, so I did have to sew my own buttons on. And not that my mum or my dad knew, but I did actually spend a little bit of time in Army Cadets. But that was more of a laugh than anything else. Right you are. That's those held in place. They shouldn't move. Again, tidy as you go. If anyone knows where you get hold of this stuff these days, let me know please. Tidy as you go. Remove the sewing kit minus the thimble out of the way. Remove the sewing kit minus the thimble out of the way. Now what we need for this part is this and the bag. I need to make sure we get the bag the right way up, don't want it upside down. And it's going to have to go on there like that. Right, I might cut you off a bit then, I don't know, because the battery went flat. 2 different sorts of string we can use here. Cord. We got a cheap crappy Webtex, which although I think is like 7 core, it's not particularly good. I've never put this under any kind of stress. This stuff I have put under stress. I've flown kites that can basically pick me up off the ground with 2 strands of this. This is 75 kilo. I know that's not up to the standard of 550 paracord, but I mean, Jesus, it's only older than a knife. pouch to a knife. So we want to get it so that this lip stays up here out of the way. I'll show you why in a little while. So I think I will get myself a cleaner end, which is never easy to do with a pair of scissors. I end up using the scissors like a knife. Melt it and try to close the window when I'm doing this. Try to give myself at least a bit of a point with the help of some tea. Now my lighter's got wet. Now I'll turn it this way so you can see what I'm doing now. Right, that's good enough. Just something to thread with. Now, something I learnt a long time ago in one of my first jobs. Never do that with a roll, because you put, every time you do that, you put a twist in the string. Never do that. Only ever, same when you roll it up, roll it like that, so that it's loose between your fingers and it can untwist as you roll it if it's twisted. So what you really want to do when you're unrolling a roll of something is take a pencil or some such device and unreel it correctly. Otherwise you'll end up with a piece of string that's just basically twisted and twisted and twisted on itself. Now I've got to set something up because I've got to work out how many times this is going to go down here. So I'll just go and get a measuring stick. So we have ourselves a measuring stick. You can never have too many tools. We measure this. That comes out at 6mm that way, 2mm that way. This is an oval shaped rope. So if we want to go from there to there, we say 60mm, 6mm wide, that's 10 runs backwards and forwards, with 70 that way, times 2 to 140, times 10, it's 1.4 meters. Now I need a tape measure. So math says we need 1.4 meters, which is that long. You can't actually see the end of the tape measure, can you? We'll go to 1.5 just in case. So you see, I'm doing this, not unwinding it off of the edge. So that will give us about 1.5 meters, which, although loose maths, should be more than enough. So we'll use the Zippo, which has just been filled up, so it's got a Savage flame on it. Seal that end of the rope up. So now we've got two good ends, and we can start threading. And I will point out, threading is not my strong point. Knots is not my strong points. I don't know why. For the programmers out there, I can quite easily create an anonymous multi-dimensional hash, which is basically a list of lists or something like that. But knots just confuse the head out of me. So we'll start, I think, by tying a stop knot in one end. I'm just going to need two on top of each other. Again, there's probably people out there going, no, don't do it like that. But I'm doing the best I can. I don't really know any other way to tie knots other than the way I am. So we'll try that again, see if it will hold it this time. Nope. Maybe I should just tie a washer on the end of it, eh? This is knot number 4. I suppose what I should have tied in there was one of them monkey knots, you know, monkey fist knot or whatever it's called. That should hold it. Yep, that ain't going anywhere. So again, we need to make sure we've got this the right way. And then we go underneath there. Underneath there. Up through here. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. Like I said, knots are not like that. We'll take that off of there. And we'll tie that diagonally across. This is going to be real fiddly. So we get that back through there just this one time. And then try and pull it through tight. I hope you can see what I'm doing, okay, or relatively okay. Probably can't because my hands are in the way. If I move you around the other side, just check that. It's like I keep telling you, my camera hasn't got a bloody screen on it, on the front, or hasn't got a flippable screen. And then we'll carry on. Probably do with a needle of some description. I could actually make a needle out of some welding rod or something like that for this particular purpose, which I think I might actually go in the other room and do quickly. Well, it looks like the maths was completely wrong. I was going to get myself a needle, but hey, you know, you live and learn. You get it wrong first time. It's not really a mistake, is it? It's a lesson, isn't it? Rather than a mistake. So we've got a nice piece of stainless steel welding rod here, which I think I can cut with these pliers. Yes. And I can use this as a needle if I lay my cards right. So I've got to open up this hook on the end of it. Hopefully I can do it without stabbing myself. I've been stabbed with welding more times than I'd like to count. I haven't been a welder for quite a while. Yes, I was a welder. Now I'm a computer program. Pinch that down on there and that should give us... Oh, look at that. It makes life a bit easier, doesn't it? And we'll just go around loosely for now. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7. And now I'm going to have to try and pull all of the slack through. This is Mark 1, by the way. This is to test the theory. Now if it works, we'll cut another piece of string. make it a bit bigger. But you get the general gist. That's on there pretty firmly. Yes, it can slide up and down, but I haven't gone through these holes enough to stop it from sliding up and down. And obviously it's coming loose, and there's only maybe a quarter of the string on there that we actually want. I'll try with 3 meters next time, but you get the idea. So we'll have this back out quickly. I've got tons of this string, 1,000 meters of it. I think I bought for about 20 quid. So we'll measure this out. I'm 6 foot, or 6'3", so between my arms should be a couple of meters. Again, like I say, roll the string out. So that's 1 arm's length. Two arms lengths. Three arms lengths. That should be more than enough. So we'll find the ends. Alright. Seal the ends first so that they don't get frayed while we're working. There we go, 2 sealed ends. And we go back to our funky needle. Just pinch it up with a pair of pliers. That's in there pretty tight. It's not going to come out. Now we've got loads of string to deal with. Right. So we'll go down through there like that. No, we want to go up through there really, I think. So yeah, we'll go up through there like that. That'll give us 1 tag end. So we need to put the other end of the string through. Up through there. A tag end. I'll get a bit of sellotape. Take that down so it doesn't move anywhere. Oh, the person who bites his fingernails, this is his worst enemy. My wife has fingernails, but thankfully she doesn't stick to the loose end so tape down anymore. So we'll just take that up there like that out of the way. And then we need to go through here. We're now dealing with a very long piece of string, as you can see. Shit, tight in a knot. What you are then? I want it really to sit like that. I'm glad the cat's not home, because she'll be chasing this string around like no one's business, and I'll end up with all of this stuff on the floor. So we go over the top, over the top of there, cross, round, under and through there, like that. and that's past 1. Now if I can, which I don't think I can, I need to pass that underneath there for neatness. And then we can start going through with this. Again, we can use tape as we go. If we really want to tape down these and make sure they stay roughly tight and roughly in the right order, because like I said, this string is oval, it's not cylindrical. So what we don't really want, we want this to be neat, don't we? Or at least try and get it roughly neat. I mean, seriously, if you're really that worried about it, you can go over with a 2-pack glue afterwards. Glue the whole lot down. I mean, the 2-pack glue I got was only cheap stuff, but even cheap stuff is really strong. One thing we have to try and do is keep tension all the time. So, as you can see, it is going slowly, and it is going to take a while. Oh no, the cat's turned up. Middle-aged cat that still acts like a child. If you see that cat at Christmas, you grab hold of her, you find a bit of tinsel, and you tie it around her waist. And I don't know how many of you are about the same age as me out there. I mean, I'm in my early 40s, but Tasmanian Devil is all I can say. As in, you know, the cartoon version of the Tasmanian Devil. That cat runs around this house as fast as she can, trying to get away from a piece of tinsel tied around her waist. I mean, us humans, we're intelligent enough to know that you can't get away from something that's tied to you. The cat, another story altogether. Maybe she does. Maybe she does now. She just likes running around like a head case. You don't know what cats are like. Weirdos. Right, this is a painstaking process. Probably won't film all of it. Oh shit, cold tea. I won't film all of it actually because that Energizer battery's gone flat and I've just had to put my other one in and that's going flat as well. So I'm going to pause it. When I get to the end I'll show you how I finish it up. But you get the idea. We're just going round and 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 round. Right then, so it's taken about 10 or 15 minutes to get this done. Focus, damn you. I've got my two ends, one's looped through there, back on itself. Now we've got the fun part. This is where I start to struggle. This is what I was talking about when I said I'm not very good with knots. I've now got to work out a way to neatly join these two together. That's going to take some thought. Because like I say, I'm really bad with knots. I do believe this knot has a name. I'll get it the right way up so you can actually see it the way it's supposed to be. I do believe it has a name. I think it's like a double half hitch or something like that. It's basically two granny knots, two shoelace knots tied over the top of each other, one way and one the other. I'll let you in on a little trade, on a little geeky trade secret. When you tie a knot, you don't think it's going to be very strong. Get yourself a tub of that. So, first of all, we open up our tub of super glue. We'll make sure we can actually get some glue out of it, because I know you guys know exactly what super glue is like. And we smear a little bit on here carefully, and a bit on there carefully. And then we tie our knot. And just hold it there for a second. And hopefully the super glue will latch on and hold that part for us. No, it's not going to. We know where it joins now, we know where it touches together, so we'll put a bit of super glue on there like that. And a bit on there like that. And then try it again. Right, there we go, I can see it slapping together, and super glue smells horrible. Ugh. I should hold it relatively tightly, and we'll take our two ends and we'll do the knot the other way round this time. And once again we add some super contact, super duper adhesive all over the shop, and then pull that down nice and tight. And there you have a knot that will probably not come undone until the next ice age. Now, I do that because I'm really bad at tying knots. I'm not going to use this to cut these pieces of string, quite simply because I'm going to get super glue on a brand new knife. So we'll slice through very carefully and very gently. With our relatively blunt, because I haven't sharpened it for, oh my god, I've got super glue on my fingers. Our relatively blunt Fallkniven F1. I'll do the same on this side. And there we go. That is now pretty firmly attached. It's not going to move anywhere. It's sitting roughly where I need it to sit. Sits in there. We can put all of our firelighting gear goes in this side. If it'll all fit, I think it does. It sits down underneath there. Might actually be a better idea to put that in there because that's the flat stuff, isn't it? Let's move that. That's come on, that's come. There you go. So we'll put this stuff. I don't know why I keep them wrapped up in a Ziploc bag. There's no need. They're light when they're wet anyway, don't they? Plexi blocks. I'll put this stuff in this side, all this firelight and stuff. And a couple of bits of this. Why I keep a piece of leather in there for sharpening stone. Where did my other bit of pencil go? See, I need a pencil to rub with. Rubby rub. Put that in there. That can sit, normally sits around there somewhere. Zip it up. I guess this would make the zips tight, but I don't normally unzip this all the way anyway. Now, the reason I wanted it to sit where it was, you'll see in a second when I come back, is this old, battered, look how badly it's been beaten over its time. Oh, this camera's so slow to focus. It's old Maglite with one of them strange little LED bulbs in. This fits really quite nicely once you've got it in there and it's sort of cleared its path on the way down. It fits quite nicely down the side here. This is going to take a bit of shoving, but there you go. It sits quite nicely down the side there. And you can leave the pouch open and have relatively easy access to the torch the whole time you're using it. Now I was going to try and find myself a piece of tube. If I can find a piece of tube that the mag light will fit in quite nicely, I will sew the piece of tube down the inside there. It only needs to be, you know, a couple of inches long, just so that it keeps itself clear and it can slide in and out. So, there's one thing we haven't got in our little kit, or one thing that we haven't done yet that needs to be done. All good knives should have, of some description or another, a lanyard. This has one. I think every single knife I've got has got a lanyard on it. Now, last camping trip we had, which was the weekend before last, me and my wife discovered to our dismay that our tent leaks. And it leaked everywhere, and we got very wet and very cold and very miserable. So I've got some tent strings here because we threw the tent away when we came home. My Esee needs a lanyard. Now again, I'm not one for fancy knots, so what I generally do is I'll put a long piece of string through, put my wrist through, work out roughly where I need it. I don't want it too long. I don't want the string to be so long that it gets in the way of the start of the blade, really. And I will basically turn the waist string into two pieces of string. I will do one of these knots and pinch it there, put the loop there, pass this through. This is an ugly knot. Shuffle it down a little bit and pull it tight as you can bear. This way I can tie another knot and keep tying these knots down, 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 down until I get in exactly the right place. Like that. And it's getting a bit tight for my liking, so I'll have to make sure that this knot pulls up tight against that one. And there we go. Now all I need to do is cut in between the two. Like I said, I haven't sharpened that for a while, so it's a bit blunt. And then off the end. Like that. And we have one lanyard. Right. There were several reasons why I've gone from the F1 to this. Firstly, like I said earlier in this video, this is hard to sharpen for me. I'm not very good at sharpening knives, I'll be the first to admit. You use this, as I've said. Now I tried to demonstrate to my wife earlier how to hone this knife, and I've actually blunted it just by giving her a quick demonstration of how to hone it. So that's reason number one. This is hard to sharpen as far as I'm concerned. Number two, I've got awfully big hands. Now this has got a lanyard on it that's just big enough for me to get through, so I can use it like that, yeah, so that I get a bit more whack on it. But this is just a bit too small for my hands. You can see it doesn't stick out the back, and it doesn't feel comfortable when I'm using it. I'll tip it out. I'll tip this up this way so you probably should be able to see me, especially if I stand back. It doesn't feel comfortable when I'm using it. When I'm holding this knife, as you can see, it barely comes out the back of my hand. So when I'm holding it, the way I generally hold a knife is with a 2-finger pinch and then the rest of my hand around there. If I'm doing anything heavy, the pommel can actually stick into my hand a bit. With this, that's a different story altogether. I hold the knife like that and then I wrap my hand around it. I've got a good grip on it. It doesn't come out as far as I'd like it to, but it's a lot better. Now, I mean, you can see the difference between the two blades. This is ginormous compared to that. This is nice for, you know, skinning and gutting and God knows what else. But when it comes to a general purpose knife, I think you are a bit better with one about this big. This is 4 inches, this is 6 inches. Obviously there's, you know, nearly 2 inches difference. Neither of which you're allowed to carry outside in the UK unless you've got a reasonable excuse. Quite what a reasonable excuse is, I don't know. But the fact that I want to carry a knife, that's a reasonable excuse to me. I want to be prepared because the Boy Scouts taught me to be prepared. But they're the main 2 reasons why I've gone from this, which I've been using probably for 2 years now, to this, which hasn't cut anything apart from a bacon packet yet. So, difficult to sharpen for me, difficult to sharpen, not really big enough for my hands. If I had a smaller hands, if I was, you know, 5'3" instead of 6'3", this would probably be ideal, and I'd probably keep it and forego the fact that it is a bit difficult to sharpen. Easier to sharpen for me, again, this is just me we're talking about, not everybody. Easier to sharpen, I can sharpen it with my DC3, probably not particularly well, but I can do it, and it fits my hand so much better. Plus I really do like big blades. I suppose that's about the end of the video. You've just seen how not to take on a project. The last thing we need to do is just try it on my belt. It's probably so heavy it's going to pull my bloody trousers down, and the belt clip really isn't very nice. But as I said earlier, I do generally, when I carry a knife, sideways like that. I can't do that with this one because the handle end is so heavy it's out of balance. There is one thing I've forgotten. I'm glad I forgot it while I was indoors, but I need to find a way to add this to this. So let me have a think about that for a little while. Like I say, I haven't got a fully charged battery for the camera yet. Let me have a think about that for a little while. And I'll get back to you. So, this is formed out of leather and screwed and bolted on to this sheath. This is an original F1 sheath with the belt hook taken off and the top taken off because I like leather sheaths, but didn't like the way this one was. So I'll go and grab a screwdriver and we'll take this off. Like I say, this is only screwed in, shouldn't be too difficult to get out. Aside from the fact I'd probably put thread lock on the screws. There's one. Obviously them screws, they're just going to fall through these holes. They're not going to stick on there at all well. I don't know. It might be alright with an extra washer, so we double the washers up, so there's a tiny one and then a slightly bigger one. I do have quite a few washers laying around. I should probably be doing this with a battery drill as well. Makes life a bit easier. There we go. Here's number 2. Who would have thought it? These pieces of leather that I put on there as washers are actually biting onto the thread almost as well as the nuts were. Right, this, now you can see it's formed and glued. Now I'm thinking there's quite a lot of spare space on there. We can make another hole. I keep standing in the shadow here. There's quite a lot of space on there. I can make another hole and put it in there, or potentially add it on down here. And that would mean adding another hole to the leather. Or maybe there. It's difficult to know where to put it really. With this great big bag here, or with this bag on the front, it makes it very small. I didn't really want to put the fire steel in the bag, but I think that's going to be in the way up there. This is a difficult one. I normally make decisions very quickly and very soundly, but this isn't quite so easy to make the decision on. So, this is going to be on my belt. You can tell I'm not used to belt clips. This is going to be on my belt. And there, it seems pretty practical. But then again, I could always just sew it onto the bag with some of that super strong thread. There is a bit, I think there it's going to get in the way. It seems a bit detached there, so maybe on the back. Yeah, I think there's quite a good place. I don't know really whether you can see that particularly well. So, after all that messing around, we're going to attach it onto the back. Right then, this is going on there with the help of one of these tiny weeny eensy beensy washers. Slightly bigger washer, which we will then poke through there. Through that hole, and then somehow I'm going to have to get in there maybe we'll try it the other way around. Maybe we'll try putting a bolt through here. Bolt through with the big washer on this way. Like this. And we take our doodah. Mate, this is awkward. These bolts, these nuts are tiny. It's like 4mm or something like that. No, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that on some form of clamp, and I haven't got a clamp that's going to fit through there. Once it's on, it ain't coming off in a hurry, but it's just not going to go on there. So we're going to have to rethink that one. This is what I mean about earlier. I hate trying stuff and then finding out it doesn't work. I'd like to know it's going to work straight away, off the bat, not have to mess around with it. So then we're going to have to come up with some way of getting that to stay on there, which is probably just going to be through there. The biggest trouble with that is these bolts have got a shank on them. I don't think these are going to cut it quite. We'll try. I'll have to open that hole out a bit. I don't know, let's see. My dad always used to tell me to keep your workplace tidy, but sometimes I go a bit too far. I need my Phillips, my crosshead Vauxhall screwdriver. And put that through there like that. And that in there like that. And then we'll screw that down nice and tight. I think that back one is actually turning when it shouldn't be. This is why I really hate this, because that should at least have a couple of slots in it so that you can get a screwdriver in it. Instead I've got to mess around with a pair of needle nose pliers that aren't going to grip very well, just to get this to do in. Then we can put another hole through the top there with the help of a DeWalt battery drill. A tin full of drill bits. How big are they? That should do. No, it's those ones that we've got to get it for. That's too big. About right. I'm going to be careful here. I've injured myself quite savagely with drills in the past. I'd rather not do it again because it hurts a lot. Right then, I should now be ready. I will probably end up moving this because I can almost guarantee you it's going to get on my wick. But hey. There we go. One bodged knife and basically fire lighting bag all in one place. That's a bit loose, but gravity works wonders. And it's going to take an awful while to get used to. I read somewhere a long time ago, it takes 500 repetitions or thereabouts to get used to where something is. You know, if you wear your holster here, turn it up so you can see, if you wear your holster here and you decide to move it to over here, it can take you 500 goes to get used to the fact, to make it habit that you need to go there. So this isn't really going to be any different. It comes out relatively easily. Obviously my clothes are going to get in the way. It goes back in. Generally when I withdraw the knife from the holster, I put my wrist through there first so that I can't lift it out and accidentally drop it on my foot. Especially something as heavy as this. You should always be careful with something as heavy as this, because just on its own it's enough to do a lot of damage. But hey, we'll go up the woods in a couple of days and check it all out. Well, can't really, this is England. Caught in the woods with that, and we'll probably go to jail. Then Ben goes firearms licences and move into another country. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen to me ramble on. I don't claim to be a craftsman of any kind. I'm excellent at Perl programming, I'm excellent at PHP programming. I am what people would probably say a jack of a lot of trades and a master of a few. So I'm not really a jack of all trades and master of none, but I'm pretty good with woodwork and stuff like that. But I have a functional item now. It does what I need it to do. Like I say, I would have much preferred to have it mounted at an angle with clips and God knows what and string, so I might drill another hole through there. In fact, I'll probably do that now. I was going to say goodbye and finish, but if I drill another hole through there, and I'll attach two of my big clips and we'll try it with my strap. So let's just do that quickly. I have this back out. That's not the right one, but hey. I'll put another hole through here. Carefully. That drill is blunt. So we'll use this one. I know that was sharp because I sharpened it the other day. So we'll have that there. These two don't match. I'm just going to go and get another one of them that actually matches. I bought a job lot of giant key rings on eBay. Very handy. Even handier when you've got a pair of pliers to put them on with. Saves your fingers. This might work, probably won't. I will give it a try though, because I do prefer carrying knives at an angle. Ow! You probably can't even see what I'm doing, can you? No, there we go. No matters, I don't think you can see what I've done at all right from the start. So, there's a top one and a bottom one, which means we can hang like that, but as you can see it pulls. So this is probably not going to work. Maybe if I put another hole here, it might hang a bit better. I'll be honest with you, that's just going to fall into me all the time. I'll go and get the strap that I use. Which is basically a piece of plaited string, or a piece of plaited cord with 2 carabines. I've seen these before. They're really easy to make and they have about 10 million uses. So, generally, the F1 I used to wear like that. I had another clip down on the side to stop it from swinging out when I lean over, so that used to clip in the top across there like that. This carabiner would clip there like that, and everything's there, the side at arm's length then, and that's good for me. Obviously when you're wearing a few layers on top, it lifts it up a bit, but this doesn't seem too bad. Might be able to get away with it if I can get some sort of a loop through there somewhere to attach this onto my belt, but for the time being we'll do that, and we'll just use it as a belt hook. I've never really used knives off my belt, so I don't know how well I'll get on with it, but I'll give it a try for a while. So now I'll say goodbye. Thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to me ramble on and watching me bodge whatever I can bodge and basically get what I want as cheaply as possible. See you again soon, guys. Bye.